Good morning and welcome to another episode of Nutrition Talks with me, Tyson the Trainer. For those of you watching, yes, I do have my Macho Man Randy Savage glasses on because I need to channel my inner Macho Man Randy Savage today, talking about chocolate, talking about dark chocolate versus milk chocolate, right? I don't know why. I made a video about this a while ago and it seemed to trigger the fuck out of people. And I was like, okay, I thought this was something that we clearly had gone past this about why, dark chocolate versus white chocolate, but apparently not. So guess what? This is going to be a whole podcast about dark chocolate versus white chocolate and what you should be choosing for fat loss, for health, and everything else. That kind of rhymed. So basically, we're going to get straight into it. I'm going to describe about the dark chocolate first, the benefits that everyone talks about, the things people have to jack off about the dark chocolate. Then we're going to talk about the milk chocolate, I should say. My apologies. I'm then going to talk about the milk chocolate, and then I'm going to do a little bit of comparison, thinking about which one you should be choosing when it comes to your overall goals, okay? So, I'm going to take a sip of my coffee first. If you can hear that noise, that is a mouse that I need to turn off. Here's the cat's play toy that was in the room. Anyways, so, let's start with dark chocolate first, shall we? So basically, you've probably heard dark chocolate is healthy for you. It's got all these great benefits. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to Google what are the health benefits of dark chocolate, just so I can read them off to you, because there's a lot of things that people say, and I'm like, okay, what are the websites saying, What is Healthline saying? What is all these everyday nutrition saying? Like, these basic bitch blogs, I should say. So firstly, it's very nutritious. A 100-gram bar of dark chocolate with 70 to 85% cacao contains 11 grams of fiber, 66% of iron, 57% of magnesium, 196% of copper. When I say percent, it is the daily, the RDI, the recommended daily intake, and 85% of manganese. So that is a lot. In addition, it contains plenty of potassium, phosphorus, zinc, and selenium. All right. So you're like, oh wow, 100 grams contains all that. Let's just hang on for a second. 100 grams of that is 600 calories. So you're going to get all these benefits from 600 calories worth of dark chocolate. That's a lot of fucking dark chocolate to eat, right? I mean, 100 grams is pretty easy. So that's basically 4 rows. If you're doing the lint, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 4, 6, 8 squares. That's a fair bit of dark chocolate if you ask me. And again, if you're trying to be in a calorie deficit and lose weight, or trying to manage your weight, 600 fucking calories of chocolate a day to get those values is a joke, all right? Now let me put this in comparison, okay? 11 grams of fiber for 100 grams of dark chocolate, okay? 100 grams of vegetables is going to have about 6 grams of fiber. And you're like, oh wow, dark chocolate has more. Yeah, but 100 grams of vegetables is also about 22 calories, okay? 22 calories for 100 grams versus 600 calories. So if you have 200 grams of vegetables, which will roughly get you around the 10 gram to 11 gram mark, is going to be 44 calories versus still 600 calories. And you compare 100 grams of chocolate, what that looks like, compared to 200 grams of vegetables, that is a ridiculous difference, all right? Secondly, percentage of iron, so 66% of iron needs. If you have 100 grams of lean red meat, I should say, it's going to be about 150 calories to get more iron than required from chocolate, all right? 150 calories versus 600 calories. 57% of magnesium. If you eat, again, you're eating your fruits and your veggies, you're probably not going to get as much magnesium as you need from your diet, but you can supplement it. And guess what? Supplemental magnesium is, no, I was going to say free, I shouldn't say that, is 0 calories, okay? Or again, you can eat plenty of fruits and veggies. You're going to have to eat a lot, but you can achieve that same requirement from fruits and veggies alone. With copper, same thing, eating your red meat, eating your white meats. What I'm trying to help you guys understand here is these benefits that people are talking about, all these nutrients, you can get them from your fruits, your veggies, your nuts, and your legumes, okay? For a much lower calorie intake, you're going to get more vitamins, minerals, and nutrients, I should say, from the veggies and fruit themselves and the legumes and the nuts. All these things are going to give you more benefits for lower calories compared to the chocolate. So people love to go on about, the dark chocolate's, high in all these things. And it's like, okay, look, this is for 100 grams. If you're going to have a quarter of that, that's not going to be very high at all in nutrients, to be honest. So that's the first thing. Second thing, people say, the polyphenols, the flavonoids. all right, which are a little bit of difference to your what should I say, your vitamins and minerals, okay? But with your flavonoids and your polyphenols, you can get that from coffee, from tea, from fruit, from veggies, from whole grains, from nuts, from legumes. Again, what I'm trying to help you guys understand here is a lot of the benefits people are trying to sell you on dark chocolate. It's kind of like a bit of a wank fest. It's like when people talk about the benefits of wine. Oh, the resveratrol in wine and the nutrients in wine. And it's like, you can get the same, if not better benefits from eating the grapes that contain the resveratrol with the skin on them. Or, hear me out here, you just eat more fruits and veggies, all right? Like, people aren't drinking wine for the health benefits. I'm telling you that right now. And studies have 100% shown that you drink alcohol, it is a negative impact. It is not a positive impact. No positive impact at all. So you can tell me all you fucking want about drinking your red wine and the resveratrols and all that bullshit. It ain't doing shit for you, all right? So people just want to justify why they want to have something. Or I guess like, with dark chocolate, they want to justify why they have to eat the shittier version of chocolate. And when I say shitty version, I just mean taste, okay? So when I say taste, it's obviously dark chocolate has more of a bitter taste because there's just less refinement in it, all right, compared to milk chocolate. Now, what are the benefits of milk chocolate? Nothing really. I'm telling you that right now. Like, there's no benefit to milk chocolate except for the way it tastes, all right? Yeah, the benefits are the taste, and that's about it. The way milk chocolate is made, it obviously has more added sugar in it compared to the dark chocolate, which is basically just the pure cacao. Based on what percentage you have in there, could be a slight amount of sugar in it, but not as much compared to milk chocolate, which is just added sugar. So when we look at those two things, and you're trying to pick this from a health perspective, all right, which one do you want to have for health, I should say, first? Well, fuck, okay, the dark chocolate, cool. Per 100 grams, the dark chocolate, or per serving, I should say, the dark chocolate is going to be more healthy, okay? Health in regards to nutrient dense. Sweet, that's great. But let's look at everything else. What about the taste? Which do you prefer? There's no right or wrong answer, but which one are you going to choose? I'm telling you right now, milk chocolate that I've been getting lately, especially from Tony's Chocolonely, I think that's what it's called, is fucking lit. It is so good. It is so hard to stop eating. Compared to the dark chocolate, I don't mind the taste of dark chocolate. I can actually eat quite dark chocolate, like 90% Lindt dark chocolate. Does not bother me. It's actually quite nice, and it makes me stop earlier. But if I want to eat something from a pleasure point, I would choose the milk chocolate. Now my question is to you, which would you prefer? A dark chocolate, which is more bitter, or a milk chocolate? Question, answer, go for it. So whichever one you picked, have that chocolate. I actually can't believe I'm having to make a whole podcast about this because people are like, oh, well, it's whatever taste I prefer. What if I like the dark chocolate? Like, have the dark chocolate. Go for it. If you're someone that wants to have the milk chocolate, have the milk chocolate. From a health perspective, even though the dark chocolate is more nutrient dense, if you're actually wanting to get health benefits, you're not going to fucking choose chocolate for health benefits. What are you going to choose? What did I talk about before? Your fruits, your veggies, your whole grains, your nuts, I can't even speak it. Your nuts, your legumes, your protein, all those good quality things you need to be looking for in a diet that are whole nutritious foods is what you should be looking at getting your nutrition from. Sorry, your nutrients from, your majority from, the 85% I talk about. I'm drinking my coffee right now that is full of my antioxidants and my flavonoids. So going back to this, from a health perspective, again, you can choose the dark chocolate, but if you're actually just trying to get health benefits of food, you want to choose a lower calorie, higher nutrient dense food, which is like I just said. All right, that's the health. Now let's talk about fat loss. What's better for fat loss, dark chocolate or milk chocolate? Okay, this comes back down to moderation. So what can you moderate? Because I'm telling you right now, I cannot moderate milk chocolate. If it's in the house, it will be eaten. Can I moderate dark chocolate? Yes, I can have 1 or 2 squares and be satisfied with it, all right? So if I want to keep something in the house, it would be the dark chocolate. However, I'm not a fan of keeping any chocolate in the house because even if it's dark chocolate, if I'm craving it bad enough, I will eat a fair bit of dark chocolate just because I want that satisfying craving hit. So when I think about this for myself, I'm like, what's better for fat loss? Neither. I would rather not keep them in my house. And when I want to have something, I would actually buy a one-size serving of a cherry ripe or a Cadbury bar or a Twirl or a Mars bar or whatever they are. Buy a single-size serving, which you actually don't. I don't think you can buy single-size servings of dark chocolate. Now, why do I say buy a single size serving? Because if you're like me and you keep it in the house and it's going to get eaten, then guess what you need to fucking do? Get it out of the house. If it's in the house, it's going to be eaten. So if it's like, you keep it out, you buy a single serving when you need it, and then that's it. You're good. You're good. It's gone. It's out of the house. There's no more temptation. That's actually what's going to benefit you more from a fat loss perspective. It isn't about, what have you got to keep in the house? It's about keeping it out of the house altogether. And this is why also moderation is important. And this goes back to the 85-15% principle. 15% of your food should be coming from food you enjoy. What are you going to fucking enjoy more? A piece of dark chocolate or a piece of milk chocolate? Again, personal preference taste-wise, but for me, I'm choosing the milk chocolate and I want to have some enjoyment. So the good thing is that Woolworths is about a 15-minute walk from my house. So if I decide when I'm dieting, if I decide I want to go down and I want to go and get some chocolate, I can get a single size serving, come back, and there is going to be no issue for me. Great, good to know. Because then that way, I know that once it's eaten, which I probably wouldn't even make it home, I would eat it, it's gone. If I get a late night craving and I'm like, fuck, I really want to get some chocolate right now, there's nothing in the house. The most annoying thing about having cravings when you're dieting is that when you have nothing in the house, it's actually so frustrating because you can't give in to anything. And there's healthy food around, but you know it's a craving. So you're like, I don't want to fucking have this, so I'm not going to have this, Like my craving snack, if I'm going to have something, is a fucking Carmen's protein bar. I'm like, God damn it. Which, on another note, the Carmen's dark chocolate, double-coated dark chocolate protein bar, 10 grams of protein, not a huge amount, but it's like decent. I rate that so highly. So out of all chocolates, I'd probably say that's one of my favorite chocolates that I have. All right? But going back to the fat loss side of things, again, which one's going to be preferred taste, which one's going to be enjoyment, but I would say try and keep it out of the house as much as you can, because if you're like me and temptation is there, you will give in, right? What else do I want to say about that? Temptation, moderation, dark chocolate versus, again, like just going back to thinking for you guys, like, we really need to step away from this what's better, like this versus this. All these comparisons people do, like, oh, well, you can have this, healthy acai bowl, or you can have this KFC meal, which is sometimes good because people are like, oh, fuck, like the acai bowl has more calories than KFC. That's absolutely fine, be able to look at that. But if you're always looking at things from, like this versus this, it's like, what's actually going to fill you up more? Because you look at, let's say, KFC meal or a Macca's meal, you could probably eat that. But for me, that wouldn't satisfy my hunger. So every time I look at that, I'm like, what's going to keep me more satiated? And when it comes back to the dark chocolate personally for me would keep me more satiated, but it's just not as enjoyable as milk chocolate. Okay? The same thing for you. You're like, oh, the acai bowl has more calories. But what if you're actually someone who loves an acai bowl? Like, I've got a mate who loves a fucking acai bowl. And guess what? He just doesn't get as much bullshit add-ins as what you can usually get, which is where the calories add up. All right? This is completely off topic, but I'm just trying to help you guys understand that it's like all these comparisons people talk about, this versus this, it all comes down to personal preference, all right? Like, don't start choosing something you dislike because of the calories in it, or because it's, again, low calorie, 0 calorie, all that shit. Like, when I have a 0 calorie, what does everyone talk about? The, not the sweetener, the syrup. What's the fucking maple syrup called? Whatever that brand is that's sugar-free. Queen's, is it sugar-free maple syrup? It's fucking disgusting. Like, I actually wonder, I'm like, why do people want to have this? I would much rather have honey compared to maple syrup, actually. I'm much more of a honey person. And honey, you can get away with having a fair bit for low calories. Like, people are like, oh, another great comparison, actually. We should talk about sugar. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But yeah, honey. People are like, oh, well, I have my sugar-free maple syrup. And then you like 20 mils of it. You drown your food in it. And it just tastes like artificial bullshit. Whereas honey actually tastes good. And it's natural. Everyone talks about how good natural is. And I'm going to finish on this point about sugars, because I really think this is going to be an important thing for you guys. Okay. Pardon me. So, we have honey. We have agave, we have maple syrup, we have, what are the other, rice syrup. Like, we have all these things that people talk about. There's another one that I'm trying to think of. All these different types of syrups and sugar replacements, I guess you would say. And, you see them in these health foods. Again, it might be the agave, it might be the rice syrup, whatever it is, all this type of shit. And they talk about, it's only got natural sugars in there. You guys need to understand, when sugar is broken down in the body, it is used exactly the exact same, whether it comes from a carbohydrate source, whether it comes from honey, whether it comes from natural sugar, whether it comes from brown sugar, whether it comes from white sugar, whether it comes from agave, whether it comes from fucking whatever, rice syrup, they're all broken down the same in the body, okay? Sugar is sugar is sugar is sugar is sugar. That's all I need you to understand. So like wherever the start point is, okay, let's say the start point is here, as it's broken down, just like all humans are made up of bone, tissue, red and blood, basically, it's the same thing. With sugar, it's however it starts, it's all broken down into a glucose molecule, okay? The body has to, because the body can, when you eat carbohydrates, protein, or fat, the body has different ways that it is broken down into its, what should I say? What's the word I'm trying to think of? Original parts, I guess I would say, into its single form. And with that, the body can utilize it in different ways. But it has to be broken down in that into the body to be able to utilize it. And the body only has certain nutrients it can use. Like it can use sugar for energy, or it can use sugar for storage. It can use fat for energy, or it can use fat for storage, okay? And like, there's obviously a few other things in there, but there's not like a long list where it's like, okay, well, if you eat agave syrup, the body can do this with it. And if you eat honey, the body can do this with it. And if you eat rice maple syrup, if you eat maple syrup, the body can do this with it. It all does the same thing in the body. And you probably heard of like glycemic load or glycemic index, and this one's lower on the glycemic index, this one's lower on the glycemic load. I don't think any of you are eating honey in isolation. I mean, I definitely could. I could literally just fucking smash honey in my mouth, but I don't. You put it on the top of something, all right? The same thing with maple syrup, the same thing with agave syrup, the same thing with anything else. It is in a combination with food, which means the glycemic index has no effect on you, I should say, sorry. The glycemic index has no effect on what the body's going to do with it. Because when you eat a mixed meal, okay, this is why I hate glycemic index. People talk about, white bread, white rice. Okay, if you eat any of that and you have it with, so if you have rice in a stir fry, don't worry about the glycemic index. If you have bread with butter on it, which I assume you probably do, or something else, peanut butter, Nutella, whatever, you are now changing the glycemic index, because fats and protein and food itself and fiber, they all affect the digestion of the food. And when all this is in combination, it slows down the digestion overall, which is a good thing, okay? Because it doesn't increase your glycemic index as quickly, and it takes time for it to be broken down in the body. And so people talk about, honey's got the GI of this, but agave syrup has the GI of this, and maple syrup has the GI of this. It doesn't fucking matter, because again, unless you're drinking it straight from the bottle, which can say I've done, but I don't do all the time. It's not like my crack addict side of things where I'm just smashing that. You do not need to worry about the fucking glycemic index or the sugar, whether it comes from natural sugar or whatever, because it all comes down to the same thing. And in saying that, a lot of you stress out about sugar in milk. I think this is the biggest joke. People are like, skim milk has more sugar than full cream milk. Like, they just add sugar to it. No, they don't. They definitely do not add sugar to skim milk. Whoever tells you that is a fucking idiot. Do you want to know how you can figure this out? Look at the fucking ingredients. If sugar is added, you have to list it as an ingredient. You cannot just leave it blank, okay? If it says milk, it's milk, okay? Now, people are like, but it's got more sugar. Correct, it does, because there's less fat overall, and because you're having the same amount of liquid, 250 ml, it has to be made up of something. So because there's less fat, there is more carbohydrates. And guess where those carbohydrates come from? The sugar that's naturally occurring in milk. If you guys ever want to know if any milk or dairy product has sugar in it, it'll say it in the ingredients. That's exactly why when you look at YoPro, all that stuff, like the sugar comes from lactose, okay? Like lactose, you guys know what this is. We don't know what it is. You've just heard the word lactose. It is a sugar that is broken down in the body, okay? It's a naturally occurring sugar that is contained in milk, right? So it's you to understand this, like it's naturally occurring in milk. You don't need to worry about any sugar in fucking milk. And this is also why with you looking at MyFitnessPal, I'm like, but my sugars are so high. Go and look where your sugars come from. If you're eating refined food, your sugar's going to definitely come from there. But look where else MyFitnessPal tracks sugar from. It does track sugar from the fucking milk. It does track sugar from things that don't need to be tracked with sugar. So don't stress so much about your sugars either, okay? A lot of people are like, oh, I want to keep my sugar low. Yes, you want to keep your added sugar low, all right? Added sugar. So when you look at ingredients, if there's no added sugar, you're good to go. That's what you need to be stressing out, or not even stressing, just thinking consciously about. Avoid added sugar, all right? So this is, I know I went a little bit different on the end, but I wanted to help give you guys an idea about just overall thinking about few little myths here, okay? So dark chocolate versus milk chocolate doesn't fucking matter, whatever you prefer to eat at the end of the day, and whatever's going to be able to help keep you, like, healthy. Remember, there's health. If you're going to choose health outcome, you can choose the dark chocolate, but even better, choose actual food, okay? When it comes to weight loss, doesn't matter. Just make sure you can manage your cravings and not overeat it, which means choose a single serving and don't try and keep it in the house when you're trying to diet, okay? When it comes to sugar, it doesn't fucking matter about sugar and what people are telling you about natural sugar versus raw sugar versus all the shit. It is all broken down same in the body. Just make sure you're not eating sugar in isolation. That's what you need to think about. And I think that was everything I covered. I hope this was enjoyable. Hope this was helpful. If you guys still have questions about it, you can definitely send me a message on Instagram. I hope there's no questions about, like, I hope there was nothing lost in translation here, I would say. And I also want to hear, what do you prefer? What is your favorite chocolate? I want you to message me on Instagram and tell me what your favorite chocolate is. All right? Until next time, my friends, I'll speak to you then.